Hey everybody, it's Angelina. So today I want to talk about Taylor Swift Taylor's version. Now I know we kind of have it pretty much confirmed and we all believe that we're getting Reputation next, but I kind of want to take some time to give Taylor Swift her first album the shine that I think it deserves. So today I pretty much want to talk about what I want for Taylor Swift Taylor's version, and also like when I think it'll be announced, what I when I think it will be released, what I think the track listing should look like, what I think the packaging should look like, what I think the promotion should look like, what I think the vault track should be. And you're probably thinking like, what makes you so qualified to do this, to speak on this album? Or maybe you're not. But for me, I love country music, and one of the things that got me into country music was this album. And I feel like it's a very underrated album. It's a very underdiscussed album in Taylor Swift's canon. It doesn't even have its own Eras Tour section, and I think that's like really upsetting because I think it does deserve it, because we would not have the Taylor Swift we have today if it wasn't for this album. And so I just want to give it its shine because which we will get into, do believe we are going to get Taylor Swift Taylor Swift's Taylor version next year. I'm filming this on December 29th, so it's almost the new year, and I want to get this out before then, so hopefully I do. But yeah, also I'm obviously rocking some Our Song merch, and so I just want to get into that discussion and stick around to the end because I will be telling you what vault songs that I think should be Taylor's version. So first, let's get into it. But first, we have to talk about Reputation Taylor's version because I do believe we will be getting that before we get Taylor Swift's Taylor version. And obviously, the announcement and release of that will determine the announcement and release of Taylor Swift's Taylor's version. So I think possible announcement days for Reputation Taylor's version are the most upcoming one would be New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. I do think it is possible. As of right now, I haven't really seen any hints towards it, but I do see it as a possibility. And I think if we don't get it on New Year's Eve, I do think we will get it sometime in January, the announcement of Reputation Taylor's version. And I think it will be released in February. So now let's talk about possible dates that it could be announced in January. I think other than New Year's Day, if not New Year's Eve, is the 13th. Obviously, that's kind of like a go-to day for Taylor announcements and Taylor stuff. I also think the 10th could be a good date because obviously it was her 10th album. The 6th, 15th, and 24th, both are dates that add up to 13 also. So those are some more possible dates. For release, I think that I feel like it's pretty likely that she'll probably release it while she's in Tokyo on the Reputation tour, which I think the first day is the 9th. That's what I've written down. So I think the 9th is a possible day for release. Which that date adds up to 17, which is the year that Reputation originally came out, 2017. February 23rd also adds up to 13th. So does March 22nd, but I still strongly believe we're going to get it in February. So yeah, that's my Reputation Taylor's versions predictions. So now let's get into the Taylor Swift Taylor's version announcement because that's what we're here for. I think it will be announced in April while she's on a break. I know for Speak Now 1999, she announced both of those on tour, on stage, but Taylor isn't the type of person to do things, the same thing over and over again. And I kind of think that was very much a 2023 thing of announcing at the tour. So I don't think the last two announcements will be on tour. So I think we will get the announcement in April. Possible dates for April of announcement is the 3rd, 12th, 13th, and 21st, because all of those dates add up to 13th, and then the 13th, obviously, it's the 13th. Also April 5th, but that's just a personal thing because I strongly associate the number 5 with spring, so that's just a me thing. There's not really any like numerology or anything that goes with it, her releasing it on that day. That's just a personal thing. Also April 24th, because it originally came out on the 24th of October, so announcing it on the 24th. And for the announcement, what I think she should do, it would be cool if she did something with the radio. Like if you saw, this is kind of like a random thing, but when Olivia Rodrigo announced the Driving Home to You movie that she did, the clip that she posted was like a radio in a car and had stickers all over it and stuff. And I could see Taylor doing something similar where she like, let's say like she posts a video on YouTube or on her Instagram or Twitter or wherever of a stereo player in a car, and it's zooming in and it's like playing through each song from the album, like all the like standard tracks of the album, and you hear like little snippets of it as if you're like going through a radio station. It's like you hear a little bit of our song, Teardrops My Guitar, all those, but obviously there would be Taylor's versions. And then on it, like on the little thing that it says like what it's playing, like it just says Taylor Swift, Taylor's version. And then you hear like whoever on the radio talking, it would probably be Taylor, being like, now back to Taylor Swift, Taylor's version on at 19 point like whatever the date of the release is. So like back to Taylor Swift, Taylor's version on 5/24/24 or 5.24, I don't know, whatever. Just make the day of the release the announcement. I think that would be so cool. And like her whole first album very much revolves around relating feelings to music, like Teardrops on My Guitar, obviously, and then our song, Stay Beautiful. She says, Corey's eyes are like, when he smiles, it's like the radio. So this whole album very much revolves around relating feelings and emotions and people to songs, Tim McGraw. And I think that's something she should play into on the Taylor's version. And also, she's never really done a video announcement for a album before. Obviously, she had like the Snake for the Reputation era, but which I think she might do something like that again, but that's a whole different thing for Rep. But she's never really announced an album with a video before. Like I think of like also like how Halsey revealed the cover art for If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power. She was like walked through a museum and then revealed it as if it was a painting and stuff. Maybe she has and I just don't remember it. I know she obviously did the live stream and stuff, but I'm talking about like a very thought out, just a video. So, and I also think like maybe showing that the car is like driving on a dirt road and then zooming into the car, and then yeah, I'm saying all this. Are we gonna get it? No, I'm just giving ideas. Maybe she sees this and she hasn't really thought about it yet. Next, we have to talk about when I think the album will be released. I think a late May, early June, mid-June at the latest. Release is probably most plausible. Maybe we should take a step back real quick also, because I know there are some people who feel like maybe are like, oh, February and May too close together or whatever. I think Taylor wants to get these out. I don't think the Taylor's version project was meant to last this long, to be honest. I think we were supposed to get some of the Taylor's versions in 2022. And, you know, she had a bunch of lawsuits, like the Shake It Off one, and then there was that Speak Now one. I don't think this this project was supposed to last as long as it did. So I can see her wanting to wrap it up pretty fast in 2024 so she can move on to new and better and new things. New, I'm gonna say better, don't want to say that, but new things. So in my belief, you can think whatever you want. I think she wants to get this done with. I don't think it was ever supposed to even be as huge as it became, because it really did just start out as a passion project for her. I don't think she ever saw these versions as full fleshed out eras. So I think they were kind of supposed to be a faster process and a faster make and then release thing than they ended up being due to circumstances. But anyway, back to when I think it'll be released. So, I'm personally hoping for a May release. My birthday's in May. My birthday is May 25th. And so I just personally would love a May release. I think the earliest we could get the album, depending on obviously when it's released in April, because I do think we will have at least a month, I would say, till the album is released, from announcement to release. So I think the earliest we could get it is May 10th. I also think May 24th is really likely, because again, the album came out on October 24th, so releasing it on May 24th, so, which I would love. I would literally cry, because that would, again, obviously I love this album, so having this album be the album that's like the nearest to my birthday, literally the day before it, I'd cry. I also the date would be 24/24, and for June, if it is released in June, I think the most likely date would be June 7th. So those are my predictions for the release. So we'll see. I'm going to say all this and then we're not going to get it till November. Anyway, okay, next I want to get to the vault track announcement. Hopefully we get one and people don't leak it. Because I think the announcements are really cool, and the vault, and when she shows it, like, it's so sad we didn't get one for Speak Now. Okay, so for the vault announcement, I think another thing with the radio would be super cool. I did joke once that she's gonna make us listen to country radio to get the vault tracks. I don't think she'd actually do that, but I could see her involving radio in some capacity if she goes with my idea of making this whole release about the music and like consuming music, and yeah, so I don't think she's gonna actually make us listen to country radio to get it, but I could see her doing some type of play off of that, maybe making a radio station on Apple Music or something, or on Spotify or whatever. Or another thing that maybe she would do is secret messages, because obviously this is where it started, and I could see like her like sending all the people who are signed up for her emails on her website, like who signed up for email, sending them like a big printable, what is it called, word search. Obviously, like, word searches aren't the hardest thing, and it seems like these puzzles are getting harder and harder, like for 1989, how we had to like go on Google, but I think a word search wouldn't be that easy if she doesn't put the words we're looking for. So if we have to find them without even knowing what we're looking for, we just have to find the words and put them together. And like, she can send it by email, I think that would be a good idea. And it kind of emulates almost like the secret messages, because in secret message you're looking for the letters. So I think that would be really interesting. And for when the announcement of the vaults would be, I don't think she should wait that long, because that's what leads to leaks. Because as soon as they get sent out to the stores, people can leak them. People have access to them. So I know for some reason she likes to wait to the last minute to reveal track listings. I just don't think she should do that. I know Speak Now apparently got leaked. I didn't see it, so she could have still did the vault, but clearly she didn't, because I didn't see the leaks. But I think like if she announced at the beginning of April, put the vault out at the end of April, like, don't wait too long. Okay, now let's get into the promotion of the album. So I think her doing like a Long Pond type of performance of the album, not at Long Pond, but like how she has the entire like folklore Long Pond movie. I think doing one of those for her first album would be a really cool way to promote it. We never got a tour for that album. We have never been able to see that album performed front to back. And it does not have its own Set of the Eras tour, which is literally criminal. So I think her doing something like that, and I think it would probably have to be filmed, unless it's already filmed and she filmed it like this past summer, which I don't think she would have had time for. But like in April on her break, I know it's like, I shouldn't be being like, she needs to still be working on her break, but this is just all hypothetical and just like ideas and whatever. But I think filming like find a farmhouse or a dirt road, a field or whatever, and like perform the entire album front to back. She doesn't even have to like do the thing where she talks about each song in between. It could just be like her performing the album, maybe in like slightly different settings. Like how Miley Cyrus did like the backyard sessions, something like that, but maybe a little bit more like cinematic. So I think that would be kind of a good thing. Obviously, like April, you don't know what it's gonna be, if the weather's gonna be. Like sometimes it's super cold, sometimes it's warm. So I'm saying like, girl, get down to Georgia, find a farmhouse, find a field, and film it there. Can you imagine like the Taylor Swift Georgia sessions or something, playing off the like first lyric of her first song, like he said, the way my blue eyes shine, put those Georgia stars to shame at night. Can you imagine? Like, just take a minute, the Taylor Swift Georgia sessions or something like that, Georgia Stars sessions or whatever. I think that would be so cool, and it would be a great homage and great promotion, good promotion to like this album that really almost never really got its day in the sun, because it was the first album and we never got to really see the visuals of this era and this album come to life. So I think that because she didn't have a tour for it, whereas with the other albums we got to see them almost come to life, with the Rep tour, and the Fearless tour, we got to see those visuals, but we didn't get that with the first album. So I think that would be a really cool thing to do. I also think another thing that I think this is probably most really unlikely is her going back to the Grand Ole Opry and performing. I think just getting back to those country roots and showing the people who may be tuned out after she left country, kind of reintroducing them to her. I don't know how long it would last if she puts out this Taylor Swift Taylor version and then immediately goes back to pop on her next album, but still, like, showing that appreciation for where she came from, I think should be a big part of putting this out. I think a lot of country fans who maybe were casual fans back then, and again, left when she went pop, it would be a good way to or show them or like remind them like, hey, remember, whatever. So I think going back to the Grand Ole Opry would be pretty cool. Obviously performing on a country music award show, I don't really think that would happen just because she's going to be on tour at the time. Obviously she could like send in a performance like they do sometimes, but I don't really think that would happen. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she'll be at the CMAs and I'll eat my words, but I do think it would be really cool if she did that. Again, like country music, as a fan and someone who is very into how the country music industry works, and like because it's so like in its own bubble, like the country music industry very much is in its own world. They kind of still almost operate the old-fashioned way where you know are on country radio still, and they still want you to come in and promote your stuff. Like country music, very much you give us something and we'll give you something back. I think that's why she hasn't had a huge hit on country radio, even though she has sent songs since she went pop to country radio, like New Year's Day, Soon You'll Get Better. Obviously, I Bet You Think About Me did get some radio play on country radio, but it wasn't as big as it probably could have been if she would have went and performed it at an award show and did a country music interview on a radio show or whatever, because they very much are like, we'll promote you if you pretty much promote us. You can think it's a fucked up cycle, but that's just how country music operates. Very much a give and take, and yeah, that's a whole different thing. But next to that also would be her going on country music, I was gonna say talk shows, which she could do because I still really want to see her on the Kelly Clarkson show. But going on country music radio shows, so like which she could call in from wherever. She doesn't even need to go. So like the Bobby Bones show or whatever, just to call in a quick interview. Maybe, I don't know if there's any like huge country music podcasts, but if there is, could she go on one of those? I don't think that's likely. She doesn't really seem like the type of person to really be on podcasts, but I definitely like give a quick freaking shout out to freaking a country music radio show. Yeah, so that is what I think for promotion. Is it likely? Is any of that likely? Probably not. I'm not really expecting her to promote this album with how little she promoted all the other Taylor's versions other than Red. I don't expect her first album to get that much love. I think it needs it the most, honestly, if she wants this album to be as successful as the other Taylor's versions, because I think you just have to be honest that this album doesn't get as much attention, and it really needs to be cared for almost more if she wants this album. I'm sure she'll get a number one first week no matter what, but it's like if she wants to really, like, I don't know, I just think that this album probably it would be the album that needs the most promotion and attention from her if she wants it to be as successful. But we'll see. I don't think we're gonna get a lot of promotion for this album, but those are just my ideas if she chooses to. Things that I think are possible. Next we have to talk about track listing. So I think that this should be the double album. Every single Taylor's version and just regular Taylor Swift album we've gotten since, I want to say, Lover, has been like theorized that it's going to be a double album where there's two sides or there's like two albums. This is the album that needs that. Again, for promotion, I think this is going to be one that she really needs. People are going to need a reason to listen to because it isn't her most popular album. Unfortunately, a majority of her fans these days aren't even country music fans. So I think this is the album that would need it the most. And she has, I don't want to say an endless amount of vaults, but she has so many vaults songs from this era or this time of her life, from the ages of like 12 to 16, that I think this album being a double album is realistic also. It doesn't have to change, the aesthetic doesn't have to change for each one. Just having 13, because the album has 11 standard tracks and then 3 bonus tracks, so this is also just her shortest album. So that's another reason why I think this one is the one that could most benefit and is most likely to be a double album, because it wouldn't be extremely long. Like if she added 13 more songs, the album would probably end up being maybe an hour and a half, maybe an hour 40, and an hour 40 at the most. Like, so I don't think it would be such an insane that this album could have like 13 vault tracks. That's kind of in my mind what I see, because there's 14 tracks on the album, not including Teardrops on My Guitar pop version, which I personally do not think we need that at all. I think that for the 14 tracks, including the deluxe, and then do 13 vault tracks, and that's literally like a whole new album, and I think that would be a great poll for people to listen to it, because you're pretty much getting a whole new Taylor album. So yeah, so I think that this one would be the most likely to be a double album, and then also the one that would benefit the most from it. And I think she has the most material to make it a double album and it actually be songs from that time. So next, let's get into the packaging of the album, photo shoot, all that. I think she does need to do a full-on photo shoot for this album. I think if she ends up, I'm saying this like I'm her manager and I'm telling you guys like the things that she might do. The odds that none of this will happen. But if she did do the long pong type thing, where she goes to a field or farmhouse to film the songs, she could do a photo shoot there. 2 in 1. But I do think this album does deserve a photo shoot. Will it get it? I don't know. I think, I bring back the blue jeans, bring back the white sundresses, the cowboy boots. Like, can you imagine? I feel like that would just feel so nostalgic. It would be so nostalgic to the fans who were around back then and to the casual country fans who were fans back then. And seeing her back in this like country aesthetic, and so I would just love a full photo shoot for this album. I don't want it cityfied at all. And what I mean by that is I do not want to see any freaking glamour, like city side type thing. Like, I want her to be in the country for this photo shoot. I want her in the creek. I want her by the river. I want, like, let's get her on a tire swing, like, up in a tree. I don't know. Like, I think she should go all out and commit to the country, like, aesthetic for this Taylor's version and for the album cover. I can't even, like, think what I think the, like, cover of the album would look like, because it is likely that she could just try to recreate the original, but I kind of don't think she will. I do think she'll try to do something slightly different. I do want butterflies. Like, butterflies need to be incorporated somewhere in the artwork. I personally love the cover of the album. I know some people think that the cover is corny and looks like she edited it on PixArt, which maybe she did, but I love it. But I don't think she'll try to recreate it. I could see it maybe be a picture of her laying in a field, though, or her by, like, in a body or by a body of water or something. If she does, it needs to be a lake, river, creek. I don't want to see an ocean. There are no oceans in the countryside. I do not want to see her. Also, I mean, I don't think she would, because we just got 1989 Taylor's version, and that was obviously very, like, her on the beach in the ocean. But I'm just saying, like, I don't want anything reused. So I don't want to see her in an ocean. We're not doing oceans. We're in rivers, creeks, and lakes. Anyway, I also think another possibility is her adding in throwback photos. I don't know the licensing and the logistics of, is that the right word? I don't know. Of using old photos of old photo shoots that she's done. I know she probably can't use any photos from the original photo shoot for the album, but like maybe having where she puts photos in from like the era, like that maybe her own personal photos. Like you see that Fearless one where it has like a whole bunch of photos from the Fearless era, like her own personal photos that she took. I could see her doing something like that also, and maybe like some of her old performances from that era where she was like performing at like NASCAR like rally, is that the word? At like NASCAR, like she was performing on like a NASCAR stage, and like at like sports events and like whatever, or country music showcases, whatever, and like putting those photos maybe not as like the main photo shoot, but I could see those being incorporated into maybe the booklet or something, or maybe sold separately like as like a photo book. I don't know. I also was gonna do a section about merch, but to be completely honest, I have not been the biggest fan of the merch from her website lately, and I do think her first album does need better merch. Her first her first album, because even on like Etsy and stuff, like I cannot find good merch for her first album. Like people just again do not care about this album as much. It probably does not sell as much. But I do wish this album had much better merch, and I hope it does. But I don't really want to talk about that because, first of all, I can't really afford her merch most of the time, and so I don't really care that much. I do hope though that this album does have good merch, and I do think some type of photo book, kind of like if you ever seen the Red photo book, would be super cool, but we will see. Okay, next we gotta talk about collabs. I personally don't think this album needs any collabs. I know it's a big possibility because most of the Taylor's versions have at least one or two collabs. But I don't necessarily think it's necessary for her first album. If she does though, I think she really needs to collab with someone who can capture that the naivety of the album, not in a bad way, but just like that young soul, that young heart, a fresh new face coming into the world of country. Like she needs someone who can help her capture that again. I definitely, this isn't necessarily like a collab of like both like singing, but I definitely think she needs to bring Liz Rose back. In whatever capacity. I'm sure some of the vault tracks she'll put on there are co-written by Liz. But I also think, obviously, there's an inevitable, like, is Jack Antonoff gonna be on here? He has done country stuff, but not this type of country, if you ask me. Like, he did Gaslighter for Dixie Chicks. That, to me, is nothing like Taylor Swift's first album. I kind of think it's inevitable that he's on there somewhere. Me personally, as a country fan, I don't really feel like he fits, but I don't know, you can be surprised. Like Rick Rubin, he was doing hip-hop and like rock, and then all of a sudden he comes out with like Johnny Cash, American Records, some of the best music that Johnny Cash has made. So maybe Jack Antonoff could surprise us or me. But I do think Aaron Dessner could fit pretty good on it, so I do hope she brings him back. Or brings him back. Lets him be on, if either of them. I think Aaron Dessner would probably fit the best on her first album. Obviously Nathan Chapman was a big part of this album. I she doesn't really work with him anymore. It seems like he wasn't on Fearless. He wasn't on Speak Now. So I don't think he's coming back, but I think there are so many great country music producers out there. I think of like there's like Shane McAnally and stuff, and like, so I think she could find somebody who could help her recapture that on the vault tracks and recreate the original tracks. And again, like, Liz Rose is right there. So, but as for like musical collabs of like singing, if she does do those, I always want her to collab with Dolly Parton. If you know anything about me, Taylor and Dolly are my two, like, they are mine, like, I don't know how to explain it, like, I can't even put it into words, so, like, those are my girls, they're my girls. So I would love for them to collab, and I do think Dolly Parton is somebody who, in her music, if you listen to any of her music, more than, like, her two songs that are well known, like Dumb Blonde and 9 to 5, listen to more of her music. She's great at capturing the innocence of childhood, and even at the age she is now, like, there's just something, like, she like can still connect to a young heart, and like the way she can sing about being a child. And like, I really think that if Taylor is to bring in a collab, I do think Dolly Parton would fit perfectly on her first album. And it sucks that we probably won't get it, but I'm manifesting we are gonna get it. We're gonna get a Dolly and Taylor collab. Manifest that. Taylor and Dolly collabing 2024. I think that Dolly would be great. That's my number one pick. But as for other people, I think her collabing with legacy acts would help a lot with the promotion and with people getting people to listen. If you don't know what a legacy act is, it's pretty much somebody who's, there's like a lot of different meanings, but when I refer to a legacy act, I'm referring to an artist whose back catalog is more popular than their current catalog. So an artist who is still currently putting out music, but their back catalog is what they're still known for and what they are still most famous for. So someone like Dolly Parton is considered a legacy act because she is still putting out music today, but she's still mostly known for her older songs. And a lot of these people are literally icons, and Taylor doesn't really collab with a lot of legacy artists, and like, I kind of find that super weird because I feel like she gets praised a lot by legacy artists, but she doesn't work with them, and that's a whole other conversation. But I do think for this record, I think that might not be a bad idea, collabing with a what was I saying? Collabing with a country music legacy artist. Obviously I would also love like Willie Nelson. I don't think that will happen. But you know, collab with these people before it's too late, Taylor. I'm telling you. Obviously Tim McGraw is one that people really want her to collab with on this album, and I actually do think that would be super cool, and super like full circle moment almost. So I do think if she had on Tim McGraw, another person, I'm like, okay, fine, I can see that, like, that's fine. George Strait, she opened up for George Strait during this era, and so I do think that would be kind of cool to have him. I don't know if he's retired. I don't think he is though. But so collabing with him would be super interesting. Again, I know I talk about this, like, she needs someone who can capture that teenagehood and that childhood innocence on this record. But I think that George Strait would be good if she had a song that was kind of about a like parenting relationship. Like, if you know her vault song, Brought Up That Way, I think that would be if she put that one on there. It's not one of my top tracks that I want for a vault track. But if she did, I could see that being turned into a collab with someone like George Strait. And I think that's like the main part where I think he would fit if she put him on here, is like almost like in a father role on a song. One person that I see a lot of people wanting her to collab with is Shania Twain. And I would love that, but I personally do not feel like Shania fits on her first album at all. Shania is very much country pop, and to me, Taylor's first album, obviously it's not the most country thing, but it is her most country thing. And I feel like Shania, again, very country pop, very pop leaning. I just don't feel like Shania would fit unless they do like some type of ballad, which I don't feel like she would want to bring Shania on to do a ballad. I feel like she would want a big country pop moment with Shania. I think Shania would have honestly fit way better on like Speak Now or maybe Red. Honestly, even maybe 1989. But I just don't think Shania fits. But if she did have Shania on here, I would not hate on it because I know she loves her. And it would be a huge moment, probably a full circle moment for Taylor. So I would understand. Another person is LeAnn Rimes. This one I could see happening. LeAnn posted a video of herself at the Holiday House, which I thought was so weird. And I'm like, unless Taylor like invited you, because she was like on the beach, like the beach part of it, that's like a public beach. And I was like, that's such a weird video to film as another celebrity, because you should know that like celebrities probably don't like their houses being filmed. So I'm like, unless Taylor invited you there, that was weird. And it made me think that maybe Taylor did. So maybe they did collab on something. But I definitely could see LeAnn Rimes on this album, and I do think it would fit because their musical upbringings and their start and were kind of like very similar. They both were started in country music at a very young age. They both got famous and got success at very young ages. So I do think LeAnn Rimes would actually be a good fit for her first album. Now we have to talk about some new acts, because Taylor has added newer acts to these older albums. Obviously on Fearless she had Maren Morris, who was didn't come out till way after Fearless came out. On Red she had Chris Stapleton, who was like just getting his start when Taylor was on her Red era. He was like just getting his real start in country music. And then like for Speak Now, obviously she had pop rock artists. So I do think it's a possibility that she'll want to put newer country artists on her Taylor's version. I have to give a shout out to Kelsea Ballerini. I don't really think she should be on this Taylor Swift Taylor's version, but it's always a possibility, so I'm just gonna throw that out there that might happen. I personally think Kelsea Ballerini would fit way better on Speak Now, but that might just happen. Next, obviously Chris Stapleton was with her on Red, but I was not satisfied because he didn't get his own verse, and he has an amazing voice. So I kind of would accept it, even though he wouldn't fit at all. But I just want her to work with him again. Zach Bryan, I think, would be a very interesting collab. Again, I don't think this will happen. I think their ships crossed, if like he was a super big fan of her during the Folklore era and then kind of fell off, and like I don't know where he stands on being a fan of her now, but I do think his music is very like, his music to me sounds like the outside, like it sounds like being outside on a summer night. So I do think he would really fit into like almost the aesthetics of this album, of her first album. So I do think he could fit, but I don't think it will happen. Kacey Musgrave's another person that I don't think it will happen, but I could see it if she wanted to have a current country artist. Lainey Wilson, I definitely think she could fit on this album. I don't even know if Taylor Swift knows of her. I just think she does. Lainey Wilson is getting super big in country right now. Also Carly Pearce is another person like that I think some current, if she wants to put some current country artists on there, I think Lainey Wilson or Carly Pearce are probably the best bets. But we'll see. Now let's get into some side notes I need to address. These are just addressing certain things I've seen online, rumors, thoughts people have had. I try to find more, but again, people are just not discussing this album. Like, so it's hard to find people's like theories or like concerns about the Taylor version. So I only have like 3. But let's just get into it. First, her country accent. Will she have her country accent on Taylor's version? I think it's a 50-50. I don't really know if she will, if I think she will, because sometimes when she performs these songs currently she has it, and sometimes she doesn't. So like when she performed our song on the Rep Tour, I could hear that country accent, like I could hear it. But then when I heard her perform our song on the Eras Tour movie, I personally didn't hear the country accent at all. I saw some people claim that they heard it. I personally did not. I could not hear it. It sounded like I didn't hear it. So I think, honestly, I think it just depends on the day she records each song, if she feels like doing it or not. I honestly think that's what it's gonna come down to. Like, was she in her country head space when she performed our song? That's gonna determine whether we get it. I think it's gonna be a song for song thing. Obviously we got it when she did I Bet You Think About Me, so I definitely don't think it's out of the realm of possibility she will put it on for Taylor's version. I hope she does. My life will be ruined if she doesn't. Just kidding. But I would be really upset if she doesn't, but I'm kind of at the point of accepting that she just might not have it, and I will deal with that on the day we get it. I at least hope she has it for our song, but we will see. Next is what she'll name the album. I saw one TikTok about this and it kind of got me upset, but let's address it. There are people who think she's gonna name the album Debut Taylor's Version or Self-Titled Taylor's Version. She's not. This album is going to be called Taylor Swift Taylor's Version, and I think that's kind of badass. She doesn't even really refer to this album as a debut. If you see it in the title card or whatever of the Eras Tour movie, it's referred to as self-titled. So there's no way. I think it's going to be Taylor Swift Taylor's version. I don't want her to completely redo the canon of these albums. So I think people who make kind of like crazy claims like that, like people who thought, oh, she's gonna change Speak Now to Enchanted, like that's not what these albums are. These Taylor's versions are about. They aren't going back and revising the canon. They're just, she's gonna name it Taylor Swift Taylor's version. If she doesn't come back and be like, and tell me, roast me in the comments, be like, she named it Debut. And also, if she does do that, also come back and do a wellness check on me, because that would be absolutely insane. The last side note is it being a surprise release. There's no way she is not making this album a surprise release. I know a lot of people thought some of the Taylor's versions would be surprise release. These albums need promotion. The only one that I could have seen maybe being a surprise release was Fearless, because she didn't really see this as something that she was gonna be profiting that much off of. It was just a passion project. She didn't see these as full eras, but she's definitely not. She needs to promote these. These need to be promoted. Hype needs to be built around these Taylor's versions, especially the last two, because I do feel like some people are kind of burnt out with the Taylor's versions. So I definitely, there's no way we're getting it. It is at least, I'm giving it at least a month announcement before the release. We are not getting a surprise drop. That would not be good, because this album needs, like I was saying earlier, she needs to get people to listen to this one, because this is probably her least anticipated one by people outside of the fandom. So like she needs to get people to want to listen to it. So doing a surprise release, that worked for Folklore because no one had heard those songs before and it was complete 180. But I just don't think it would work for Taylor's versions, because you'd be like, well, I don't need to go and listen to this right now because I already heard it. So now let's get into the vault tracks. These are the songs that I think are most, that I either really think should be vault tracks or I think will be vault tracks. So first up we have All Night Diner. So All Night Diner it very much reminds me of Right Where You Left Me. It's pretty much a song of her telling the boy she's dating that, like, if it wasn't for him, she would be lonely, and if it wasn't for her having him, she would feel so alone and, like, lonely. And it really reminds me of Right Where You Left Me, and I think it does a great job at showing Taylor's ability to write scenes almost, and to really paint a picture in her lyrics right from the jump, because obviously, again, this is a vault track from her first album. I think that this would be a great vault track to kind of show that impressive ability that she had at even the beginning of her career. In it, she says, like, without you, I'd be a stranger in all night diner, waiting for love to find her. Lonely like a harbor light that's never seen a boat, like a line in a love letter no one ever wrote. She was like, what, 14 writing that? I think that would be an amazing vault track. The next vault track that I think should be on there is Being With My Baby. This song is a pretty simple song, but I love the small town country feeling of it. It's literally a song about her wanting to spend all her time with her baby, with her boyfriend. I think this song could even like easily also be about friends in the like summertime. Like, you think of those like summer nights out with your friends, and like you don't want to like go in, you don't want to go home, you just want to hang out and be with your friends all the time. And that's what this song is about. She had a lyric in it about how how she's like, I don't want to look up the real actual like look up the lyric literally, but it's something like, I come home and I'm home too late. We didn't take the interstate. The back road was a better way for me, my baby. So it's like her wanting to get as much time as she can with her baby. And like, I've had those moments before with friends in the summertime where like we had to like walk each other home from work. We had to walk each other home from like their houses, and you would like walk as slow as you could because you wanted to talk to them all night, and you wanted to get as much time with them as you could. And I think it's a very nostalgic sounding song and a very relatable song. Next is Closest to a Cowboy. This song is pretty much a song about how a cowboy, a bad boy cowboy who kind of came around and like taught her about life, and a part of her like hates it, a part of her loves it. Like, the chorus is like, that's the closest to a cowboy you'll ever find me. And like, I just think it's such a cute song. I also just like want more cowboy songs from Taylor. I saw something, I don't know if this is true, but I saw it a couple years ago, that this song didn't make her first album because it was too country. I don't know how a country song for a country album could be too country, so I don't know if I necessarily really believe that. But again, look up these songs. The best place to find them, all I'm gonna say, is YouTube, SoundCloud, Tumblr. You need to look up these songs. Next, this one I think is very, very likely will be on Taylor's version of Taylor Swift, is I Heart Question Mark. If you do not know this song, you can go look it up. You can listen to it. You will not get in trouble. This was an officially released Taylor song. It was on her Beautiful Eyes EP. And this is just a song about a breakup. It's a song about kind of a boy breaking up with her and then wanting her back, and her kind of being a badass and being like, no, like, you broke up with me, you like left me blue and like sad. You don't just get to come back and be like, oh, sorry. And she kind of like gets him back in the shade towards him by writing an I Heart Question Mark on the back of her hand and like going to school, I'm assuming, and just having the I Heart Question kind of being like, who do I love? Like, I love it. I love little shady Taylor moments, which these vault tracks have a lot of, and I love that sassy Taylor that I feel like we don't really get as much anymore. It was very special on the first album. But yeah, if you were a kid when this song came out and you were a fan of Taylor, there's no way you didn't go to school with an I Heart Question Mark on the back of your hand. I definitely did it. I was probably like in 4th grade. And yeah, I probably had like no idea really. I was like, yeah, I Heart Question Mark. I'm in 4th grade, never had a boyfriend. Whatever. Next is I'd Lie. Now this one is interesting because there's actually a Mandela effect with this one, kind of, because people were convinced that it was on her first album. Like, people were like, this was like on a Best Buy or Walmart exclusive of her first album. Like, this was a release song. It's not. This song has never been officially released. She has performed it live. She did perform it live during the era, or like right before the album came out, because she thought she was going to put it on the album, and she ended up not putting it on the album. One of the reasons why I think it's a possibility that why it didn't get on the album was because it's a song by Saving Jane called, what's the song called? I have it on my phone. Girl Next Door. It's called Girl Next Door. And it is very similar to I'd Lie and You Belong With Me. And it came out in 2005, I believe. So before these songs would have, You Belong With Me and I'd Lie would have came out. And the lead singer from Saving Jane, called Taylor out on it. So that's why I think what might have been one of the reasons why she ended up not putting I'd Lie on her first album. But I also think she did put out You Belong With Me, and that also sounds super similar lyrically to Girl Next Door, so I don't actually know really what went down with that. But I think that is the only reason why maybe we wouldn't get it, is she wouldn't want to have to deal with it if Saving Jane, the band, was like, hey, like, you just put out the song and you're like, that's our melody, or that's our whatever. But I also think maybe Taylor wouldn't give a shit anymore, possibly. Or she would just, if it did come down to it, she would just freaking pay them or give them a writing credit or whatever. Or maybe she would change the melody of the song. If you don't know the song is pretty much her being like, oh, this boy, he has his father's eyes. Wait, what is she? He has his father's eyes. He was born on the 17th. His sister is beautiful. His favorite color is green. He can play guitar. She's like saying all these like things about a boy that she's clearly like infatuated with and loves. But then the chorus, she says like all these things about him, all these facts about him, and then she's like, but if you ask me if I love him, I'd lie. Clever. Young Taylor was everything, but she was mostly super clever with her lyrics. I think that's just, I can't believe that. Now I'm really thinking about it. Saying all this stuff about him, all these facts, but if you ask me if I love him, I'd lie and say no, I don't love him, even though I know everything about him. It needs to be a vault track. It needs to be a vault track. It's such a fun song. I think that one has a good possibility of being one. Next is Kid in the Crowd. I recently discovered this one because there was a demo tape that kind of got leaked, released, whatever. And I heard Kid in the Crowd and I was like, this is the cutest song, full circle moment ever. This needs to be a vault track. It is pretty much a song of her this is kind of also kind of a spoiler if you don't want to know like what the twist in the song is, but I'm just gonna tell you. So it's pretty much like her being on stage and being like, for every kid on stage, there's a kid in the crowd, and so she's singing about that and about like how this little kid who's watching this star on stage, just like it's like, I want to be just like you someday, da da da, and then it twists and the kid in the crowd is Taylor. And I just love that because it is a constant cycle for every kid on stage, because the grown-ups are just kids who grew up. So Taylor really still is just a kid on stage. She is a kid who had this dream. And for every kid on stage, there's a kid in the crowd. And that cycle just goes on and on for eternity. Like, we're seeing it, and the fact that we're seeing it now with Taylor, where you have people like Sabrina Carpenter and Olivia Rodrigo pretty much being like, I was that kid in the crowd, looking up at Taylor, being like, I want to be just like her someday. And now those kids are on the stage with their own fans. Like, someday some girl is gonna blow up, become a superstar, and be like, I was watching Liv Rodrigo, I was watching Sabrina Carpenter, I was watching Kelsea Ballerini. Like, it's this cycle, and I think putting this song on this album on the vault track would be such a full circle moment for Taylor, of just being like, I was that kid in the crowd, and now I'm the kid on stage, and all these kids in the crowd looking at me. It's just, I think it needs to be one. Next is My Turn to Be Me. This is the one I'm going the hardest for being a vault track, because it is literally explains the re-recording Taylor's version process, and I think it would be a great closer to it being the last, if it was the last vault track. So, because the whole song is pretty much her being like, I did everything you wanted me to do. Talk, stop, talk, walk, sleep, talk, whatever. I don't remember the lyrics. Think, walk, talk, stop, something like that. Anytime you wanted me to bend all my rules, I used to let you tell me who you wanted me to be. Now I'm flying free. It's my turn to be me. And I just think that fits so perfectly, because the whole essence and the whole meaning of these Taylor's versions is her taking the narrative back and her taking her story back. And that's literally what this song is about. She also has a line in it where she says, you can take the girl away from cowboy hats and steel guitars, she'll still sing the same old song. And I think that literally is the recording process, because what is she doing? She left country music, but now she's going back, getting out the steel guitar, putting back on the cowboy hat, and re-recording these songs, singing these same old songs. And I think that fits perfectly. you can take the girl away from country music, but I'm still gonna sing those songs. You cannot take those songs away from me. And also, there's another lyric in the song where she says, "Turned on the radio, that's when I realized it was never our song, it was yours." I don't know if that was written before or after our song, if it really has any connection, but the callback, we love a callback, and I think I love that lyric so much. I just think it's super clever, especially connecting it to our song. I think it also can relate to the re-recording process of being like, these aren't my songs anymore, but I'm going to take them back and they will be my songs again. I just love it. I think My Turn to Be Me, and I think it would also be if she did. I don't think we're gonna get any songs before the album release, but if we did, maybe we'd get our Tim McGraw song. Maybe. Like how she released Love Story before we got Fearless. But if she were to release a vault track, I think releasing this, maybe even with a video, I don't really think we are gonna get a video for her first album. But if we do, I think this would be a great one. Next is Perfect Have I Loved. Perfect Have I Loved is pretty much a song about, it pretty much is Tim McGraw, but a more positive outlook on the situation. Where Tim McGraw, the song is very somber, and she's sad that this boy is leaving for college, and she hopes he remembers her, and when he turns on the radio, she hopes he's taken back to that place, and it's very a sad song because she's just asking, like, I hope you think of me still when you leave me. Perfect Have I Loved is you're going away and I'm just happy I got to be with you at all. And I think that's beautiful because I don't think we get that a lot with Taylor. We obviously, she writes a lot of breakup songs, but we don't get a lot of like, we're broken up and I'm okay with it almost because I got the chance to love you. We did get that, I feel like, a bit on her first album. Again, I'm literally saying this literally is Tim McGraw, just a different version of it. Where for me, I am someone with the vault tracks where I like the vault tracks to fill in blank pages, blank spaces. I like it to fill in the gaps, rather than just be alternatives of songs. So like how Better Man was kind of just like almost an alternate version of All Too Well, and Slut was an alternate version of Blank Space. But Babe filled in a gap on Red of, oh, there was cheating going on. We didn't know that before we heard Babe, really. But obviously, Perfect Have I Loved is almost just an alternative to Tim McGraw, but it's such a cute song. I love it. She even mentioned September in it, which obviously she mentions September in Tim McGraw, but I still want it to be a vault track. That's how good I think it is. Now, so those were all my like main songs that I think should be vault tracks, and now my honorable mentions that I kind of think probably have no possibility most likely of being them, but I would love, is Love to Lose, which is a song that's pretty much her being like breaking up with a guy and almost like not she does care, but she's like, that love was horrible. Like, it kind of to me sounds like her and this guy break up, and then her friends are like, oh, like trying to console her because they think she's sad, but she's like, no, like it's fine, like there wasn't much left to lose, like he was actually horrible to me, like I never told you guys this, but like he blamed everything on me, he always made me cry, like I'm not that torn up about it because there wasn't much love to lose, like that love sucked. And I think that's another one that like we haven't really got to see from Taylor that much, of her a breakup that she's almost like relieved about. Like I don't think we've really gotten that from her really, of her being like, I'm relieved that you broke up with me. Like, I think that's such an interesting concept, and I would love for this to be a vault track. My second honorable mention is $10 in a Six Pack. $10 in a Six Pack is a song pretty much about Taylor getting into a relationship with a bad boy, and all her friends being like, he's bad news, like you shouldn't be with him, and her being like, I think you guys are wrong, I think he's fine, I think we're gonna be great. And I don't know who makes the bet, I don't know if it's her who makes the bet or them, but they pretty much make a bet like, okay, if it doesn't work out, I owe you $10 in a Six Pack. Pretty obvious why this song wasn't on debut, because she was not talking about drinking back then, but I think now it would be a fine song to put on there. But yeah, and I love it. I think this is definitely one of her most country 2000s country sounding songs. But I think it's so fun. She said, I got myself a big country serving of payback. Like, I think it's just such a fun song. So those were my vault tracks that I think, songs that I think should be vault tracks, or will be vault tracks. I think will be vault tracks. I want to kind of do a whole video on her unreleased songs, because it's something that I just think they're so cool. I think they're so interesting to dive into. But I don't really know how, like, to go about that much. If I should just do what I just did and go through them and kind of explain them. If you would like to see that, like, let me know. I really would love to do something with the unreleased songs. I don't feel like there's a lot of, rightfully so, I guess, but there's not a lot of, like, videos about her unreleased music, so if you would like to see that, where I go through and kind of explain, just let me know. But anyway, we're getting close to the end here, so I want to take a moment and I want to read to you a blog post I wrote on my Tumblr about kind of what this album kind of is to me, what I see when I listen to this album, why I think this album does not deserve to be as underrated and pushed to the side as it is. And I just want to, like, take a minute and read to you guys that post, because I think it very much encapsulates why I just love this album with all my heart. So, let me read it. Taylor Swift's debut album is a midsummer's night in a rural county. It's spending all night catching fireflies with your friends and family just to let them all go in the end. It's those summer car rides where you decide to take the back roads home, driving with the windows down and smelling barbecue and knowing somewhere around here, there's a group of people having a great time together. It's days by the water and feeling like all the humidity in the air is choosing to stick specifically to you. Taking a walk with your best friends right before dark, just talking about life. Feeling in that moment you could tell them anything and they would understand. It's lemonade, sweet tea, and small ice cream shops. It's soaking in each little bit of summer, because we all know September's right around the corner. In conclusion, Taylor Swift's first album is an underrated album and needs to be appreciated more. People think it's just her Yeehaw album, but it's so much more. Yeah, this is just something I wrote a couple of years ago about my feelings on the album. Anyway, with that being said, when this album is released, bask in it, listen to it, get out your white dress and your cowboy boots, your cowboy hat, get in your car, drive through the countryside, blast it on the radio the way it was meant to be listened to, and give it the respect it deserves, even if Taylor doesn't, even if she just puts it out and then leaves it be. Take a minute to really listen to it, even if you're not a fan of country. I know, like, some people can't stand it, but I promise there's substance in this album, and I just want people to see that, because this album, like, means so much to me. Like, I would not be the person I am today. I would not be the music listener. I would not listen to music the same way if I hadn't had this album as a little girl. And that's just the way it is, and I think I want people to recognize that this album has magic in it. When this album came out, Taylor was herself. That's because that's all she could be. All she could offer to people at the time was herself, who she was, and I just think that needs to be recognized and respected and appreciated. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I hope that when Taylor's version is released, we can come back, we can celebrate, we can listen, we can see which of my predictions and hopes came true. But I will see you guys later, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope 2024 is an amazing year, and I hope that we just get to live in the moment like Taylor Swift's first album does. Okay, bye.